What's up, Steelers Nation? Buckle up because today's episode is absolutely packed with updates, speculation, and a little bit of chaos from the quarterback carousel in Pittsburgh. If you've been following the rumors, you know exactly where we're starting. And yes, it's the same name that's been dominating headlines for weeks. Aaron Rodgers, still unsigned, still lurking, and still very much in the conversation to become the next starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And now, according to a Steelers insider who claims to be tuned into how things are shaking out, we might finally have a real timeline for when that move could go down. Let's rewind for a second. It's been over 2 months since NFL free agency kicked off. And while the dominoes have started to fall all around the league, Aaron Rodgers remains on the market. Despite the buzz, the visits, and the connections that scream this deal is happening, there's still no ink on the paper. But according to sources close to the situation, the holdup might be more strategic than some fans realize. There's that talk that Rodgers is waiting until just before mandatory minicamp to make it official. And yeah, that would be a very Rodgers move. If you followed his career, you know he doesn't exactly love the off-season program. And let's be honest, he's not the type to show up early and run drills just for the fun of it. But let's dig into why this timeline actually makes a lot of sense for both Rodgers and the Steelers. First off, minicamp for the Steelers is set to begin on June 10th. Players report, the media rolls in, and the spotlight turns up. That's exactly the kind of moment that Rodgers usually picks for his headline-making announcements. And word on the street is that if he does make it official, he's going to do it his way, meaning probably live on the Pat McAfee show, where he's dropped all his biggest news in recent years. If you remember, he revealed his intention to join the Jets right there with Pat. And apparently, he also leaked the Davante Adams trade there before it went public. The guy's got a pattern, and he seems to trust McAfee more than any of the traditional NFL insiders who he's openly criticized for twisting the narrative around him. So what's the benefit of announcing now? Why would Rodgers wait until the week of minicamp? Well, for one, the Steelers might want to get the inevitable media circus out of the way now rather than during training camp in late July. Training camp is where the real installation and heavy reps happen. And Pittsburgh would probably prefer that the Rodgers buzz dies down by then so they can focus on football. By bringing him in now, even if it's just for a few light workouts and some photos in the black and gold, the team gets to control the narrative. The national media gets their clicks, the fans get their first look, and when it's time to get serious in Latrobe, Rodgers can focus solely on football. The second reason is all about the locker room dynamic. Every other veteran is expected to report. That's just the way it is. And if Rodgers skips minicamp entirely, there's a risk that it sends the wrong message to the rest of the team, especially the guys who have been grinding all offseason. Players don't want to feel like even someone as talented and decorated as Rodgers, is above the team or has a different set of rules. That can breed resentment, and that's the last thing the Steelers need as they try to build something real this season. That's why there's real value in having Rodgers show face, even if he's just easing into the system. That said, it's also very possible, and maybe even likely, that Rodgers decides to wait it out. And honestly, who could blame him? This is the first time in his career he's a true free agent. He's never had the opportunity to really dictate the terms of his offseason before. Why rush into something he doesn't believe is necessary? Rodgers has been vocal in the past about his thoughts on OTA-style practices and the offseason and stalls. In his view, the foundational stuff they teach in minicamp and OTAs gets repeated in training camp anyway. So from his perspective, why bother? Flying out early just to run the same install twice? And if you think he's not building chemistry just because he's not in Pittsburgh, think again. The guy already worked out with DK Metcalf earlier this year at UCLA. It's not like he's sitting on a couch doing nothing. A lot of veteran quarterbacks organize their own throwing sessions during the break between minicamp and training camp. They bring their receivers, they go somewhere warm, and they spend a week working together in private. No media, no distractions, just football. Rodgers could easily do the same. He could fly out Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III, Pat Fryermuth, even DK again, and run his own chemistry camp on his terms with his timing without having to report to Team HQ. So sure, It'd be great to see him in Pittsburgh right now getting reps with his new teammates and his new offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. But let's not pretend it's the end of the world if he waits. When the pads come on in late July, that's when the work really starts. And as long as he's there for that, this team is going to be in a position to compete. Now, let's not forget Rodgers is not the only name in the quarterback conversation right now. There's some noise around Kirk Cousins too. Now that we're past June 1st, the financial math changes for Atlanta. If they were to trade Cousins now, the dead cap hit drops significantly from over $37 million to just $12.5 million for next season, because some of that money can be deferred to 2026. That opens the door for a potential trade. And yes, the Steelers are one of the teams that might be interested if Rodgers doesn't sign. But here's the thing. Cousins wouldn't come cheap. Atlanta's already committed a big chunk of guaranteed money to him, and they need something substantial in return to make it worth moving him. That could mean a solid mid-round pick, or Pittsburgh agreeing to take on a good portion of that remaining guaranteed cash. That's not an easy sell, especially when you compare it to the cost of bringing in Rodgers, who has reportedly said he's willing to play for just $10 million this year. That's a bargain for a 4-time MVP. So if it comes down to a choice between Rodgers or Cousins, the math, and frankly the upside, clearly favors Rodgers. You're getting an elite quarterback at a fraction of the cost, both in draft capital and cap space. That allows the Steelers to invest in other parts of the roster and build out the depth they'll need for a real playoff push. But what if neither option pans out? What's the plan C? Well, according to reports, if Rodgers flakes, he signs somewhere else or just decides to retire, the Steelers would turn to a veteran backup to sit behind Mason Rudolph, who would become the presumptive starter. And yes, I know some fans are groaning at the idea of Rudolph being the guy. But let's be real, he knows the system, he knows the locker room, and he's had flashes of solid play. He's not the long-term answer, but in a stopgap situation, it could be worse. Now, as for who that veteran backup could be, a few names keep popping up. Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz, and Teddy Bridgewater. Of the three, Tannehill might be the most logical fit. He thrived in Arthur Smith's offense back in Tennessee, and he knows the kind of system the Steelers are going to run this year. Wentz, for his part, still has that big arm, decent mobility, and starting experience. And Bridgewater, while not as flashy, brings stability and leadership, traits that matter a lot in a backup role. If it comes to that, and let's hope it doesn't, one of those guys could absolutely be getting a call from the Steelers front office. But again, the focus remains on Rodgers. Pittsburgh believes he gives them the best chance to win. And you know what? They're right. With all due respect to Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, or even Cousins, Rodgers is the guy who can elevate this team from a playoff hopeful to a legitimate contender. So we'll keep watching, keep refreshing those Twitter feeds, and keep listening for that infamous Pat McAfee announcement. And while all of that drama unfolds, the Steelers are also looking to shore up other areas of the roster. And tight end is quickly becoming one of the bigger concerns. News broke recently that Donald Parham Jr. tore his Achilles during practice and will miss the entire 2025 season. That's a brutal blow, especially in Arthur Smith's offense, which leans heavily on multiple tight end sets. We're talking 12 and 13 personnel all day. That means 2 or even 3 tight ends on the field at once. Without Parham, the Steelers are now thin at a position that was expected to be a cornerstone of their offensive identity. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In what could be one of the most surprising moves of the NFL offseason, rumors are swirling that Will Levis, the promising young quarterback currently with the Tennessee Titans, might be on the verge of a shocking switch to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Although nothing has been officially confirmed, insiders and sports commentators are buzzing with speculation about a possible deal that would send Levis away from Nashville and into the iconic black and gold. Levis, who has shown flashes of potential since entering the league, has been a subject of much debate among Titans fans and analysts alike. Despite moments of brilliance, there have been questions about whether he fits the long-term vision for Tennessee. Now, whispers suggest that the Steelers, a franchise known for its rich quarterback history and a fan base hungry for a new leader under center, could be making a bold move to acquire him. The Steelers have been searching for stability at the quarterback position ever since the end of the Ben Roethlisberger era. While they've experimented with various options, none have solidified the role convincingly. Could LEVIS be the missing piece? Sources hint that Pittsburgh's front office is intrigued by his arm strength, athleticism, and upside, qualities that could energize a team eager to return to playoff contention. On the flip side, the Titans may be looking to pivot in a different direction, possibly clearing the way for a fresh quarterback prospect or veteran acquisition. If LEVIS departs, it would signal a major shift in Tennessee's strategy, raising questions about the future of their offensive system and personnel choices. Of course, such a move would not be without its challenges. LEVIS would need to adapt quickly to a new coaching staff and playbook in Pittsburgh, while the Steelers fans and media would surely scrutinize every performance with intense pressure. Yet the potential reward, revitalizing a struggling franchise with a talented young quarterback, makes this rumor all the more tantalizing. While agents, team spokespeople, and LEVIS himself remain tight-lipped, the NFL grapevine continues to buzz. If this deal comes to fruition, it could reshape the landscape of the AFC and set the stage for a fascinating quarterback rivalry. For now, fans on both sides can only speculate. But one thing is certain, if Will Levis does leave the Titans to join the Steelers, it will be a headline-making move that sparks conversations across the league for months to come. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.